What lies beneath our feet? We walk upon the surface of our world, so confident in the ground we tread. We build our cities, lay our roads, and believe we know the story of the land. But what if the earth itself holds a secret? A story written not in stone tablets or ancient scrolls but carved into the very bedrock of a continent. A story not of human hands but of something far, far older. Imagine you are a geologist studying the landscape of southern Brazil. You come across a hole in the ground, an opening that seems too perfect, too deliberate to be a simple cave. It beckons you, it whispers of a mystery hidden from the sun for thousands of years. This is where our journey begins, not with a map, but with a question mark buried in the soil. This is precisely what happened to Professor Heinrich Frank at the Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul. He was driving along a highway when a construction site revealed something extraordinary, a strange, gaping hole in the earth. He pulled over, ventured inside, and found himself in a place that defied easy explanation. But who could have built such a structure, and why was it hidden here, waiting patiently for a curious eye to rediscover its existence? The heart of this mystery lies beating beneath the lush, vibrant landscapes of Brazil. While the first modern discoveries were made in the southern state of Rio Grande do Sul, these strange tunnels are not confined to one small region. They have been found scattered across the country, from the south all the way to the Amazon basin. One of the most significant concentrations is found in the state of Rondonia, a remote and rugged part of western Brazil. Here, deep within the Amazon rainforest, hundreds of these tunnels, known to scientists as paleoburrows, have been documented. It's a staggering thought, an entire underground network hidden beneath one of the most biodiverse places on Earth. Imagine a world beneath the world we know. This is not an exaggeration. The scale of this network is almost beyond comprehension. One of the largest known paleoburrows, located in Rondonia, stretches for more than 2,000 feet. That's over 6 football fields long. It is a massive, branching structure with multiple side tunnels and large chambers, some big enough to park a bus in. The main passage is often over 6 feet high and 5 feet wide, a comfortable space for a human to walk through, which only adds to the initial confusion about its origins. The sheer number of these burrows is just as baffling as their size. Scientists have now cataloged over 1,500 of them in southern Brazil alone, and this is likely just a tiny fraction of the total. Stepping inside one of these paleoburrows is like entering another dimension. The design is uncannily consistent yet utterly alien. The main tunnels are typically circular or elliptical in shape. This shape provides immense structural stability. This is not the random, chaotic shape of a limestone cavern carved by water. This is engineering. The tunnels snake through the earth, sometimes for hundreds of feet or even thousands of feet, with smaller tunnels branching off from the main passage. These offshoots often lead to larger, rounded chambers almost like rooms. What were these rooms for? Were they living quarters? Nurseries? The most striking feature is etched into the walls, the ceilings, and the floors. They are covered in enormous claw marks. These are not the subtle scratches of a small animal. These are deep, parallel grooves, sometimes over a foot long, gouged into clay, gouged into sandstone, gouged into solid granite, the signature of the builder. You can see the sweeping motion of a massive arm, raking away tons of earth with each pass. Ceilings polished smooth from a colossal back-rubbing past. These marks are the key, fossilized evidence from millennia ago. Scientists mapped these tunnels with old-fashioned grit and modern technology. Tape measures, compasses, laser scanners. They create detailed 3D models of the interiors. By analyzing tunnel size and shape and claw mark patterns, researchers reconstruct the creature's behavior. Professor Frank has calculated over 4,000 metric tons for the largest paleoburrow. That's more than the weight of 4 blue whales. Faced with such a colossal and organized network of tunnels, the first most logical assumption was that humans must have been responsible. The size of the main passages, often tall enough for a person to stand up in, seemed to point directly to human engineers. Early theories proposed that these were ancient mines, dug by indigenous peoples in search of precious minerals. Or perhaps they were shelters, fortified refuges from enemies, or the elements. Some even speculated they could have been ceremonial or religious sites, underground temples carved for sacred rituals. These ideas seemed plausible, as ancient cultures around the world have a rich history of impressive subterranean construction. However, as scientists looked closer, the human theory began to crumble. There was a complete and total lack of any human artifacts inside the tunnels. No broken pottery, no discarded tools, no soot from torches on the ceilings, no human remains. For a project of this magnitude, which would have required years of labor from a large population, the absence of any cultural evidence is a deafening silence. Human beings leave traces wherever they go. The fact that these vast tunnels were sterile of any human signature was the first major clue that we were looking in the wrong direction. The builders were not us. Furthermore, the logic of the tunnels didn't align with human needs. If they were mines, where was the ore? Geologists found no evidence of valuable mineral veins that would justify such extensive excavation. If they were shelters or ceremonial sites, their design was strangely inefficient. The final definitive evidence against the human theory was right there on the walls, the claw marks. These marks were made by something organic, something powerful, and something with a set of claws the size of a human hand. If not humans, then who? The answer is, honestly, almost more incredible than any theory of a lost civilization. The builders of these colossal tunnels were animals. And not just any animals, but giants that roamed South America during the Pleistocene epoch, an era that ended around 11,700 years ago. These were the megafauna, the colossal mammals of the Ice Age. The evidence, etched into every wall and ceiling, pointed to creatures of immense size and power. The claw marks were kind of like the fingerprints. By matching them to the fossil record, scientists could finally identify the culprits. They were not a single species, but at least two different types of prehistoric giants. The primary architects of the largest burrows were giant ground sloths. Forget the slow, gentle tree dwellers we know today. Their ancient relatives were behemoths. Species like Catanix glossotherium could grow to be the size of a modern-day elephant, weighing several tons and standing over 10 feet tall when reared up on their hind legs. They were equipped with enormous, powerful claws, not for climbing, for digging, for defense. These were the master engineers, capable of moving thousands of tons of earth to create vast, branching tunnel systems. But the sloths were not the only ones digging. Scientists found another distinct type of burrow. These were smaller, though still impressively large, and often had a more perfectly circular or arched shape. These tunnels are believed to have been dug by giant armadillos. Prehistoric armadillos, such as Pampatherium holmesina, were built like tanks. To understand the tunnels, we must first understand their builders. The giant ground sloths were some of the most impressive mammals to ever walk the earth. The largest of them, Megatherium, which means giant beast, could reach lengths of 20 feet, and weigh up to 4 tons, making it as large as an African elephant. These were not the sluggish, sleepy creatures we associate with the name sloth today. They were powerful herbivores, capable of standing on their hind legs and using their long claws to pull down tree branches for food. Their sheer size would have made them nearly immune to predators, a walking mountain of muscle and fur. Their most formidable tools were their claws. Each foot was armed with several enormous, sickle-shaped claws that could be a foot long. While they were certainly used for gathering food and defending against the fearsome predators of the era, like the saber-toothed cat, their primary use may have been excavation. The anatomy of their limbs, with powerful shoulder and forearm muscles, suggests an animal perfectly adapted for digging. They were industrial-strength excavators, nature's bulldozers, capable of carving through soil and rock with relentless efficiency. These tunnels are the ultimate testament to their incredible and previously unsuspected engineering prowess. Sharing the landscape were the giant armadillos, the other master builders of prehistoric Brazil. Species like Pampatherium were about the size of a wild boar, while the larger Homsina could rival a small car in size and weigh up to 500 pounds. Like their modern relatives, they were covered in a protective carapace of bony plates called osteoderms, but on a much grander scale. This armor made them incredibly resilient, a walking fortress that was difficult for any predator to attack. They were primarily herbivores, grazing on the tough vegetation of the Pleistocene grasslands and savannas. Like the sloths, their anatomy screamed digger. They possessed short, stout limbs with massive, flattened claws, ideal for shoveling earth. How can scientists be so sure about which animal dug which tunnel? The answer is written in the language of claws. The massive grooves that cover the walls of the paleoburrows are the key to identifying their creators. They are, in essence, a prehistoric signature. Researchers like Heinrich Frank and his colleagues perform a kind of paleontological forensics. They carefully measure the size-shape spacing of the claw marks and compare them to the fossilized claws of the megafauna known to have lived in the region at the time. The match is often unmistakable. In the largest burrows, the claw marks consist of long, deep gouges, often appearing in groups of 2, 3, or 4 parallel tracks. The sheer size and power needed to carve these marks into solid rock immediately ruled out any smaller animal. When compared to the fossilized hand skeletons of giant ground sloths like Glossopterium, the evidence becomes clear. The size and curvature of the fossil claws are a perfect match for the grooves on the walls. It's like finding a key that fits a 10,000-year-old lock. You can almost picture the giant sloth bracing itself and raking its immense claws down the wall, tearing away chunks of earth. In the smaller, more rounded tunnels, a different signature appears. The claw marks are still large, but they are arranged differently. They often show a pattern of 5 claws, with the central 3 being larger and more prominent. This pattern does not match the anatomy of a sloth's foot. It does, however, perfectly match the fossilized claws of giant armadillos, like Pampatherium. The slightly different digging style and the distinct claw signature allow scientists to confidently attribute these specific burrows to the armored giants. The burning question remains: why? Why would these giants expend such colossal energy to dig enormous tunnels? The answer likely lies in the turbulent, dangerous world of the Pleistocene. This was an era of dramatic climate shifts, with swings between warm and cold glacial stages. The tunnels would have provided an incredibly stable, secure shelter. Deep underground, the temperature stays almost constant, protecting animals from blistering heat, freezing cold, torrential rains, wildfires. These burrows were climate-controlled bunkers, engineered for survival. There was also the ever-present threat of predators. A full-grown giant sloth could be formidable, but the young, the old, the sick were vulnerable. The Pleistocene held terrifying hunters like the saber-toothed cat, Smilodon, and the giant short-faced bear, Arctotherium. A deep, extensive burrow was the ultimate fortress. Any predator that followed a giant sloth, or an armadillo, into a narrow, dark tunnel would lose its advantages, facing a powerful animal on its home turf. These tunnels were defensive strongholds. Some scientists propose these were multi-generational projects. The sheer scale suggests they were dug and expanded over many years, perhaps centuries, by successive generations. A mother sloth might have expanded a burrow to make room for her young, who would continue the work after she was gone. These become ancestral homes, passed down through a lineage of giants. It paints a picture of complex social life we are only beginning to imagine. These burrows force us to rethink what we thought we knew. Sloths, labeled lazy and simple, armadillos, labeled primitive and solitary. But paleo-burrows reveal sophisticated engineers capable of immense, sustained effort and forward-thinking behavior. Today these 10,000-year-old tunnels stand silent, their giant builders long since vanished from the earth. They are a haunting memorial to a lost epoch, a time when giants literally moved mountains of earth to build their homes. What other secrets do they hold? As scientists continue to explore and map this subterranean network, new discoveries are inevitable. Perhaps they will find the fossilized remains of a sloth. Perhaps they will find the fossilized remains of an armadillo that died peacefully in its home, giving us an unprecedentedly complete look at one of these animals. Or maybe they will find the bones of other smaller creatures that used the tunnels as shelter, revealing more about the complex Ice Age ecosystem. These paleo-burrows are a profound reminder that the ground beneath our feet is a library, and we've only just begun to read the first page. For centuries, we walked right over this incredible story without even knowing it. It makes you wonder, what else are we missing? What other monumental works of nature or ancient life lie hidden just beneath the surface, waiting for a curious mind and a watchful eye? Are there similar structures on other continents, created by other extinct giants, that we have yet to recognize for what they truly are? The possibilities are as vast as the tunnels themselves. The story of Brazil's ancient tunnels is not just about the past, it's about our connection to the deep history of our planet. It shows us the world was once very different, ruled by creatures that challenge our imagination. They were not mindless beasts, but intelligent, powerful beings who engineered their world in ways we're only now beginning to understand. Their legacy, carved in earth and stone, has survived for millennia, a silent message from a bygone era. It tells us we are not the first great builders on this planet.